welcome to I Caught It on Audio. This is Water Cooler Chat episode 40. The Rings of Power, season 1, episode 3.
Hello and welcome to another 64 Tacos podcast. Today we're going to be doing our water cooler chat about the Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power series. Today we'll be talking about season 1, episode 3, which just came out this week. We start off, I think, following Galadriel a little bit. She's on a boat, if I'm not mistaken, to begin the episode.
Yeah, so they came up beside what I actually took to be like a dock or something, but they apparently swept up beside a large boat, and they are brought on board after they are passed out, or at least Galadriel's passed out, and that's where she wakes up in the hold of the boat.
And then they are brought to the island of what's it called?
Numenor.
Numenor, which is the island inhabited by humans that was kind of given, well, the elves believe they gave it to the humans in gratitude for the help in the battle against Morgoth.
Yep. And they're sort of like mega humans. They're long lived, and I believe they're either descended from or given long life by their association with Elros, who is Elrond's half-elven brother, who decided to choose mortal life and live among them. So I think he was the original ruler. I don't know if he's still alive or not, although Elrond is. So I don't know how long the mortal life is when you choose that.
Right.
I'm sure all these things someone knows out there, and they may or may not be listening, but people know these things, or at least they know a version, because Tolkien often contradicted himself with all his revisions and stuff. So it's hard to pin it down, but yeah, they're the sort of
Tolkien wanted this story to evolve and change throughout time.
No, it's exactly what you think it should be, and anybody else's idea is wrong.
Oh, okay, that's right. I forgot.
But yeah, they're
never
sort of like,
change anything.
They're the ones that the Dunedain are descended from, which is what Aragorn is. They're like the best of men, the most powerful. They have the greatest civilization. And I have to say, when they sailed that ship in, and we saw the set and the CG and the design of Numenor, it is stunning. It was one of the more beautiful things.
It is phenomenal. Yeah.
It's amazing.
So you mentioned Aragorn, and we actually, and how he's a descendant of these people. We actually get to meet Isildur.
Yes.
And
his father, Elendil,
and his father, yeah,
who actually rescues our two protagonists in this story.
Yeah, so when they get there, it's discovered that elves are not welcome there, and there's not a Galadriel's the only elf and the first elf they've seen in a very long time. I guess they've been banned from coming here, and she is just in this. This kind of bothered me. She just wants to get out of here right away, and I don't quite get the urgency. Like, that is not a trait of elves. That is a trait of dwarves and a trait of humans and to a lesser degree, hobbits. That is not something that's ever been a trait of elves, and I feel like they kind of betrayed the character a little bit that way, and it kind of frustrated me, to be honest with you.
I actually 100% agree. I mentioned last time that I was having a little trouble sort of getting along with the Galadriel storyline above all others. And I, did a little reading and stuff and thinking, and I was like, okay, well, she's supposed to be this mighty warrior in her younger days, and she grows into her maturity and wisdom as she gets older. That's fine. But that's exactly what I thought. This is not elf-like.
No.
The fire, the passion, I'm fine with the younger elf having that.
Yeah.
But the lack of diplomacy and the rudeness and the antagonism she didn't feel regal. There needs to be a little bit of that in there. And
especially considering it's Galadriel, who in Lord of the Rings had all of those qualities. Yes, she was extremely passionate, but she had all the diplomacy in the world also. And she was very patient. And it just didn't make sense that and I get, from a human perspective, she's trying to go and find out why there are orcs because she just learned from the other castaway that there are orcs again. So yeah, there's that, but why? I don't know. It just didn't feel right to me.
Do you think this is a problem of having a elf as your main protagonist? Whereas, like, because when you think about Lord of the Rings, for example, yes, Legolas was part of the party and he did things, but he was not the main character, and he managed
He wasn't
sort of
the driving force, yeah.
and he managed to sort of remain slightly aloof and more aid and go along with it. Legolas did, but I feel like they've turned Galadriel into a human.
Yep, it feels that way,
and that's the thing I don't like. And interestingly, what's his name? Arundel, the guard elf who was captured by the orcs.
Yes.
Arundir? Arundir,
yes.
Yeah, there it is. Arundir.
My current favorite character.
Yeah, he manages to have the sort of emotions and reactions while getting the right sort of note of elfdom. I don't know how, it's hard to put my finger on what I mean by that, but
no, he's definitely the most elf of the elves so far. And to be fair, we did not get to see Elrond this episode, but
no,
or really very many of the other elves.
No Elrond, no Celebrimbor, no Durin, no dwarves. I mean, it's fine because
and that's fine.
Like, we don't need to like have every episode be equally divided among all the storylines. No. Yeah, I think that's my biggest disappointment so far is I have no problem with Galadriel, doing this stuff, but from the beginning she's felt, and I think I finally put my finger on it, she feels like a human protagonist, not an elven protagonist.
Yeah.
Maybe that's very challenging.
Apparent. That became apparent when she was standing in front of the queen. It just did not feel right at all. It didn't feel like Galadriel, didn't feel like an elf. I didn't really care for it.
Yeah.
All right. So you just mentioned the other elf character that we got to see this time. The elf party in the Southlands has been captured by orcs.
Yep. He turns out that his watch commander and his fellow watch partner were also captured among a few other elves, I think.
Yep.
And they're all tasked with digging this tunnel. And this is because, and I think this is Tolkien accurate, the orcs of this age had been away from the sun so long that they can't stand. They're like vampires almost. They can't deal with the sun.
Right. It burns their skin or causes them irritation or something like that.
And what's neat is they made their skin lighter than it was in the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit and the Third Age when they had adapted. But yeah, so they're digging this trench basically to find a way to be able to move around almost, or perhaps to dig a trench like for warfare. And so that's what they're set to work at. They're all chained up along with anybody else they catch, and they're digging a massive trench.
Yeah. So we get an opportunity for the elves to be elven heroes in this one. God, what is his name?
Arondir.
Arondir? Okay.
Yeah, it's an invented character.
Yeah.
It's not that name was one they came up with, a suitably elven sounding name.
Yeah.
So it's a little hard to remember for me.
No, that's fine. I can't remember any of the names if they weren't in the movie to begin with,
right?
In the original movies. So that always takes me longer to figure out. Anyway, they attempt to. Oh, no. They're told they need to cut down a tree because it's in the way of the path. And the elves refuse to do it. And then they kind of cause a disruption. And then the orcs basically, they kill one of the elves.
Yeah, he kills his watch partner.
Yeah.
Just cuts his throat.
And then he says, okay, well, I'll cut the tree down. And he, kind of blesses the tree or whatever. Right. And, we don't see him cut it down, but it's apparent that he cuts it down. And then a little later they stage a breakout.
Yeah, their idea is to get one of the elves away, so they can take word so that they know what's going on, so they can come back and take care of the orcs.
Yeah.
So there's a great battle where they're cut. They get a hold of some of the weapons. They cut some of the chains. They're fighting with the chains. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, really cool elven high fantasy. Ridiculous shenanigans that are really fun. But if you can't give yourself a suspension of disbelief, then don't watch this scene, because it's it's Legolas, grabbing the side of a horse and mounting it, and then running up the front of an elephant, and
better CG.
Oh yeah,
it seems actually like a lot of wire work, which actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it does look good. It did look really good. So that was a lot of fun.
Cool battle.
It kind of brought that character to my current favorite in the series. Before I wasn't sure between him and the Hobbit, because
Nori,
because she is awesome too.
Yeah,
and she's so
cool.
good in this episode. And we'll get to that. But I think that scene brought him to the front for me personally.
Yeah, it was great. So then they do all this effort, and they manage to get his watch commander free, and he runs, and Arondir goes to the he's basically still chained, but he's able to get to the edge to look and see and watch him escape. But unfortunately, the elf that gets away, his old watch commander, is struck by arrows, presumably other orcs, and dies. And also they fight a warg among all this. That was earlier, but it was fairly bloody. It was one of those things where it was like when you think about the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies, there was a good amount of violence, but there wasn't a whole lot of blood. No,
that's for sure.
There's a little more blood in this than we've seen before, at least of good guys. But anyhow, so the escape is for naught, and then they call out for, is it what was his name? They're calling out for Adar, Adar. Yep. He appears to be a man. You don't get to see his,
or an elf even,
or an elf. You don't see his shape in focus, because he's sort of, that's the cliffhanger. He's walking towards the screen, and he never comes into focus. But he's apparently their leader. Perhaps he's lending a bit of strategy to the whole event. And this brings up the question: do you think that this is who do you think this is? Is he possibly just is he a generic bad guy of some sort? If he's human, what would that make him? Could he possibly be, although I doubt this, could he possibly be Sauron,
right,
before he, takes on his armor and stuff? And I don't think so, because I believe that Sauron, during the forging of the rings, basically tricked by appearing to be good. He didn't use orcs.
Right. No, he used deception.
Yeah, deception and by appearing to be a good guy. So I don't know if that's right, but I don't have any idea who this might be yet. All I know is he's played by an actor of who we've seen before, who is, high enough profile that I would think it's a reasonably significant role. He's Benjen Stark from Game of Thrones, Joseph Maul. So he's an actor who's been in some stuff. I would imagine that he probably has more to do than just be a generic, especially the way they set him up. But yeah, we'll have to wait and find out. Maybe next episode. That's where that line ends.
Yeah, and then we got to hang out with the Harfoot for a little bit. This was a really, really interesting scene. So they're getting ready for the next migration, and it's telling. Nori's father broke his ankle, and so they're worried they're not going to be able to keep up with their cart and all that stuff. I guess the way it works is they settle down somewhere, gather up all the provisions in their carts, and then they move on to another place. And they have this reading of all of the left behind, and it's this somber moment where they remember all the Harfoot who had not made it through the last migration, or had died in some way, since the last time they migrated.
Yeah, they name them and how they died.
Yeah, their cause of death.
Yeah,
And it's a neat little ritual.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I thought
Yeah,
it
we found
added a
out
lot of
that Poppy's whole family got wiped out. Nori's
Yeah.
friend who's helping her out.
yeah.
So she's on her own. And we see that later in the episode when she's pulling her own cart by herself at the back of
Mhm.
the line there.
Yeah, and so I really liked that development in the Harfoot clan,
yeah,
and we have some shenanigans with Nori and Poppy trying to get some pages out of the big book to try and
Yep.
find the a star map.
right. To bring to the
bring to
mysterious meteor man guy, the stranger.
Right. And then they must have gotten it to him, or he came into camp, and
Yeah, he finds it. I think like
Yeah,
she
finds
took
it.
it, but then
he's
he finds it.
sitting by the fire looking at it, and then it catches on fire, and he doesn't know what to do about it because he has been alive for 2 days.
Yeah. Well, his reaction, he can't control his magic, it appears. His
Right.
reaction like kicks all the fire up at all the different fires around them.
Right.
And then he freaks out and he stumbles through like a tent covering and knocks it all over and then pops his head up.
Yeah.
And all the Harfoots are all hiding from him. And then Nori's got to be banging her head against the wall because he's the first thing he says is Nori.
Yeah.
She's like, damn it, I am caught.
So the punishment is that Nori's family has to be the last in the caravan, which is very worrying for them because the dad has that broken ankle and they're afraid they're not going to be able to keep up.
Yeah, if they can't set the pace, they were intending to be near the front.
Right.
But if they can't keep the pace or set the pace, then and that's exactly what begins to happen.
Right.
Poppy's back there with them, and then they're behind her, and he, the father's having trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But then the stranger comes up and basically starts pushing the cart, and it looks like that's going to allow them to keep up.
Yeah, so that's cool. All in all, I thought it was a good episode.
Yeah, I think so. Again, my complaint is I still don't know. I don't like the tone they've taken with Galadriel.
Yep,
Other
I
than
agree.
that, I'm enjoying all the storylines just fine. I'm not exactly sure what's up with the guy Halbrand, the human who's with Galadriel.
We should talk about him just a smidge. He's apparently the heir to the throne in the Southlands.
He says he's not. He says he found the symbol. That could be BS, or is he Sauron? Is he sort of dissembling, but while telling the truth, while saying that his family is why Morgoth fell? It's a little hard to tell. He's being kept mysterious intentionally, which is that's good. It's good.
Yeah,
good
we've
for the
got
story.
some good mysteries going on right now.
Yep. Although. And they're almost hinting at romance between him and Galadriel, which I don't know. Maybe that's just I don't know. If you know that she's going to marry, Celeborn at some point,
mm-hmm.
it's a little whatever. It's fine. I don't know. I just don't know where they're going with it. I don't see what the point is. Maybe they're just trying to show that he's a charismatic person.
Yeah.
He's definitely good at stealing stuff, but not good enough the second time. He also, as it turns out, can kick some ass because he takes care of like 7 Numenorians, which is, Numenorians are sort of like little extra strong humans. So it's no mean feat. So you wonder, why is he that powerful? It's another little mystery that we haven't figured out yet. Another invented character. So we need to figure out how that all fits in the thing. But yeah, I think, it's the pacing is not breakneck, but I've heard some people complain online about how it's too slow and nothing happens. And I don't know. I'm kind of enjoying it. I'm also looking at it as,
too.
It's 8 episodes and then possibly 5 seasons. I'm okay if they're not like, I've watched some other, I watched the Wheel of Time show and, they're so rushed to try to get the story in. And if you know the story, you're like, my goodness, they're just mangling stuff, And so I'd rather, again, this is a story that's only told in skeletal form in the appendices, so they get to choose a bit how detailed they get. I kind of like how they're stretching it out a little. It's an enjoyable hour to spend, it doesn't feel rushed and it doesn't feel too slow to me.
Yep, I completely agree. It's been a lot of fun to watch. There's definitely some mystery and suspense. I don't know where certain things are going, which is good. I hate when I can figure things out long before it's supposed to be revealed. So I feel they're doing a good job with that.
Yeah, I mean, overall, my impressions are mostly positive. Obviously, how the season plays out will have an effect on how you feel about it more than just the episodes by themselves. But yeah, I mean, there's some obvious stuff where you're like, well, why do they do that? That doesn't make any sense. But they're not going to get everything dead right, and they may have reasons for why. Okay, so as it turns out, Galadriel jumping out of the boat in the middle of the sea, well, that put her closer to Numenor, so that's where she ended up. Okay, again, the free ticket to paradise from that you get to go to Valinor is still like a weird, contradicts the basic ideas of the whole universe that Tolkien created. But they did that to get her out in the sea so she could be collected up with this Halbrand, and then they end up near Numenor. So sometimes there may be reasons why they do stuff which don't make any sense. So I guess we'll just have to keep watching and see. But yeah. I have enjoyed the watching, and I'm pleased that this could have been so much worse. I think when I heard Amazon was doing it, I was like, oh well, I don't know. But this has been pretty darn good so far, considering.
Yep, I'm enjoying it. All right, well, I think we're going to wrap that up there. We will be back with another episode next week to talk about episode 4 of the series. So look for that.
I caught it on audio,